to another video. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about my reading experience of the Miss Marple series so far, and just talking about it and comparing it, I guess, to my reading experience of Poirot. I'm now nearing the end of the Miss Marple novels. I've got a couple of short stories to go. I was meant to do this halfway through, but I'm lazy and life got in the way, so I'm doing it now. And yeah, I just have to say, like, my reading experience of Miss Marple hasn't been great. I found a lot of the stories boring. None of my ratings for Goodreads of the books have been above 3 stars. I think only 2 of them I've given 3 stars. The rest have even been 2 stars, and there have been a couple of 1 stars. So yeah, I haven't been enjoying it as much, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about that and just see why that is. So I think my overall average rating for the books that I've read so far from Miss Marple have been probably about 2 stars. I would say I think I've read 11 books at this point now, and yeah, so that's my average for that. I don't know what my average is for the Poirot novels, so perhaps whilst I'm editing this I will figure out that average and also stick it up on the screen so you can see what that is like. But I know there were a couple of Poirot books that I did give 5 stars, and I just don't think any of the Miss Marple ones are going to get that. Maybe the short stories. I do like the short story collections that Agatha Christie has done with Poirot's ones as well, so we'll see. But yeah, I guess let's sort of talk about one of the main reasons why. I haven't really prepared for this video, so I might just ramble on and talk about things in a very roundabout way. What I will say in terms of what I do like about the Miss Marple novels, yeah, maybe it's not like specifically about the Miss Marple novels. What I do like is I like the range of mysteries that Agatha Christie still continues to have with this different character. I think just obviously because I've always been reading the Poirot novels, that I've always just imagined the mystery and associated it with Poirot, and just never seen any of her work outside of that detective. So it's nice to know that actually it's still a plethora of different murders and investigations and crimes that she can create. That's still really nice, because I always do feel like they're brand new stories and that they, they haven't been pinched from elsewhere. At least in my case, they haven't been pinched from any of the Poirot novels. So I do like that, I can still see her range as a writer, and I think that's really important. However, one of the areas that I guess I've really struggled with a lot of the Miss Marple novels is I feel like she could have just written the novels and not had Miss Marple in them. For some of the stories, Miss Marple appears really late, and if she appears when she appears late in these stories, it's just a very secondary background role. In particular in the book The Moving Finger, it is told from the perspective of another character, and Miss Marple appears really late and very infrequently in the book, and it's just a bit why have you included her in this book? I think this book could have worked very well without her, because it didn't really seem like she was doing much. It seemed like the main character that we were hearing from was the one doing all the legwork, and obviously Miss Marple comes in and just does a little bit of, oh, I think this, and then it's solved. It was just really weird. So I felt a lot of them, so she was just shoehorned in. There were some Poirot books again that he did appear in quite late, so it was a bit but I think just because she wrote so many Poirot novels, it's not as obvious. Whereas in some of these books, I've read 11 now, and I'm just I think about 4 out of the 11 I've read, I've just been a bit if this didn't include Miss Marple, this would just be a normal detective story, not a character-driven one. And then my other huge sort of thing is, I don't think Miss Marple is that interesting, and I don't know if it's because she's an old lady. I don't think it's that. I just think the way she has been written, it's not that interesting. It's just, okay, this woman does a lot of knitting, and she loves her garden, but now she can't do any gardening because of her arthritis, I think is what she has, and it's just a lot of talk about being old and not being able to do things, and how when you're older people just see you as you've lost your mind and all these things, and how she hasn't lost her faculties and all of these things. And it's okay, but we've read all the books from 1 to 11 now at this point, so we fucking get it. Old people are not stupid. It's just a bit so repetitive, and I just don't know that there's the need for it when your books are, obviously these books are not in a series, but they're using the same character, and I get people can pick the books up at different points, but at some point you have to stop accounting for when someone's going to pick the book up, because if someone's a fan and they're continuously reading the same thing, it gets boring. And that's very much what the Miss Marple novels felt like. And I just don't know if that is because I'm just I don't think it's because I'm just oh, I don't like reading about old people, because that's just not the case. it's just super repetitive and annoying in all of the books to just have that come up again and again. And I guess it's a change in language as well. So in so many of the books she's referred to as an old pussy, she refers to herself as an old pussy, other people refer to her as an old pussy, and I just find that really amusing because I'm just like, oh okay, you go you old pussy. But it's just that constant reference of her being old, and I guess obviously being underestimated. And I do get it, it does play a huge part in some of the books where people just think, oh, because she's just like this old woman, like, you know, they don't really see her as a danger. But then she isn't really a danger because she's always just like in the background, like talking to people. And I guess one of the other things that I don't really understand is Miss Marple's contribution a lot of the times. A lot of her deciphering and working out very much seems to take place off the page, and that's very similar to Poirot. It was just a bit like, how did you come up with this? But with Miss Marple's one, I'm literally just like, I don't even understand how you really got here. She seems to spend a lot of time like off page, and then, you know, might hear something and then puts like 2 and 2 together, and, you know, she's getting 4. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I just don't know how she's getting this. It just feels a little bit unbelievable and a little bit force-fed that we're just supposed to believe that she's a sort of superwoman in the end, and obviously she's very much like, oh no, I'm frail and don't thank me and all these sorts of things, and it just feels very false. So I think for me, that sort of not entirely believing that I think that, you know, she can solve the crime, coupled with the fact that, you know, we're always being told that people underestimate older people, just, it overshadows the crime elements for me, and because I always feel like she's in the background, I'm just a bit like, this is taking away from the main crime story. I'm just reading about this old lady for like absolutely no reason, and she seems completely lovely, but I just feel like I'm reading half of these stories and I'm just like, what is the point? But I do think there is a point to Miss Marple. For me, it highlights how English society felt about different things. With Poirot, it's very hard to tell because, you know, he's a foreigner, so their reactions to him are because he is foreign. Whereas Miss Marple is an old lady, but she is an English old lady. She lives in a quiet little village where nothing ever happens, told that about 100 times as well. Oh my goodness. And you know, we get to explore society through her eyes, and I think that's very important because it paints a picture in that time of how different things were, especially because Miss Marple is, I guess, from the era where a lot of things changed during her lifetime, and through that, I think what they really mean is the way in which girls conducted themselves, like the way that men were. I don't know, like there's this sort of thing with back in the day. I think Miss Marple likes to refer a little bit from her. There's this sort of, I guess maybe it's like rose-tinted glasses whenever you look at things from the past, but a lot of the things that come up in these books are the fact that like boys didn't used to be as wayward, you know, but in now that Miss Marple's like 80 and stuff like that, oh, all these boys are committed all these crimes and going to jail and things like that, and I'm like, I'm sure they were still committing crimes like when you were a young girl, like you just probably didn't see it as much, you weren't aware of it. But yeah, there is a lot of the sense of, oh, so much has changed, and now in society people go around killing each other and all of these things, and like killings have been happening for ages, like what are you talking about? But I get it, we're very much shown like the view of, I guess, like Agatha Christie and a lot of people of that time of how they felt their society had changed, and even down to things like in terms of maids. So, you know, when Miss Marple was younger, I think people had a lot more maids, whereas like now they only have one. And for someone like me who's like, what the fuck, you have maids? Do you know what I mean? It's just so different. But it highlights that sort of societal change and how far, not how far we've come, because different cultures still have like people who help in the house and stuff like that. But in terms of like UK, English, Scottish, Irish culture, like those things are so far removed from what they were, and I think Miss Marple really highlights that, the differences in the things that she has seen like in her lifetime. I think through Miss Marple, Agatha Christie is able to illustrate the different types of people in English society, and yeah, it's just very fascinating. I guess what I'm really trying to say is I see the purpose Miss Marple serves, because she can be a bit like incognito. Because she is part of that society, she doesn't stick out like Poirot, but she's also incognito because people underestimate her because she's an older lady, and therefore a bit like, yeah, they're not looking at her as they're not thinking that she's the one that's going to be sort of looking at them funny trying to solve a crime or anything like that. So I completely understand the purpose that she says. I find her boring. Like, I just don't find her stories that interesting, and I'm listening to these as audiobooks, but they're not that much longer, at least in my opinion, than any of the other audiobooks that I've listened to from the Poirot series. but every time I'm listening to them, I'm just like, this feels so long. There's so much dialogue in a lot of these books that just feel unnecessary, and I just feel like, why are we listening to all of these people talk? Like, it's so boring. But again, a lot of the purpose it serves is to explain the English society and just how things are different, but also just like what is going on, so that you're able to paint a picture of how people view each other. You know, there's obviously a lot of talking here about like Americans, when American characters come in, and just how different the American culture is to the English culture. And I get it, but I also just think it's a load of waffle that is unnecessary and loads the book. So for me, it makes the books feel 10 times longer than they actually are. So yeah, I get Miss Marple's purpose, but I also think a lot of the time she's in the background, and therefore I'm just a bit like, why is this a Miss Marple book? Just make it something else and make her the forefront of another book. So yeah, my reading experience of the Miss Marple series so far have not been great. I don't hate them. Like I said, I completely appreciate the different mysteries. I find those elements completely interesting and exciting, and I'm always thrilled to jump in to find out like what the story is. For me, I'm just tired of hearing about Miss Marple being old. I'm tired of just the like, oh, I'm just an old lady and I solved this crime, don't thank me sort of stuff, and it's just, I don't like it. It's jarring for me personally. So I'm definitely in camp Poirot 100%, but I'm also excited to listen to some of her other mystery novels which don't feature like a prominent detective. I know there's Tommy and Tuppence, which I don't think I've actually listened to one yet, but I've had a bit about, but I think I'm going to give it a break from the main character detective sleuth and just listen to some of her ones that don't feature any one detective. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know if you have read either or and who your preference is. I feel like people are going to think I'm being really harsh on Miss Marple because of her age. I don't think it is that reason. I just think she's dead boring. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have any thoughts, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you on my next one. Bye!